All right. And I was really intrigued with, actually, I heard you first, Natalie, on a podcast with someone else. And I felt like this is such good information for me because I'm in that, at the time, 40s, now 50 age range where, but I know it's not just my age. It's a lot. It encompasses a lot more people in population than just my age, but very interested in magnesium. And Carrie is also my functional medicine coach. And so she's very up on all kinds of stuff related to hormones and, just different kinds of supplements that are important to take. So this is something that she and I have discussed too. And when I talked to Natalie a few months ago, I just felt like she is an expert. She is the magnesium expert. She has so much information that I felt was so interesting and important to know that I wanted to bring her on and talk to all of us. So Natalie, I'm going to try to keep this around a 20-minute conversation and then about 10 minutes of Q&A. So if you all in the room or on Facebook have questions as Natalie is talking, feel free to pop those in. And I'm also going to use this as a replay. So if you miss it live, you can go back and still replay either on Facebook. I'll probably put an email out and maybe with more information about some of the conversations if we had questions coming in. But I'm going to start with this. So I remember you saying that I think you said about 70% of Americans, or almost 70% of Americans, are severely, not just a little bit deficient, like, okay, we could just have a little bit more leafy greens or something, but severely deficient in magnesium. So two questions. One is why? Why is that such a big problem? And is it kind of more unique to America? And then second is what are the signs? But go start with the why. Why are we so deficient here in America with magnesium?
So that is an awesome question. I think that's the question that we're all asking. Like, if so many people are dealing with this terrible deficiency in magnesium and handling all these awful symptoms that go along with magnesium deficiency, what is going on? Like, why aren't we hearing about this? Why aren't the newscasters talking about this? Why isn't your doctor talking about this? Like, what is happening? So part of my theories around why this is happening so often is partially because of our diet. So the foods that are very high in magnesium include all of the foods that most people don't want to eat on a daily basis. And we're talking the dark green leafy vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your whole grains. All of those are chock full of magnesium. But when we look at the standard American diet, the standard American diet is very high in sugar and processed foods and all sorts of, foods in a box, foods in a can. And people are eating that instead of eating the greens and all the good stuff that you're supposed to eat. So we have that one challenge. We also have the challenge that the nutrition in our food isn't the same as it used to be 50 or 100 years ago. So if you look at, like, for instance, like the vitamin C in an orange now versus an orange, 100 years ago, that orange years ago had, 5 times more vitamin C in an orange as compared to what we're dealing with now. So our soil has changed, our farming practices have changed greatly, and all of that affects how much magnesium we're getting into our bodies. So definitely, our diet has a lot to do with it. The other side of that coin is what I like to say is the fact that we're burning through our magnesium stores way faster than we can replenish it. So it's super important to get enough in your diet, but it's also super important to be cognizant of how much magnesium we're burning through. So some ways that you can burn through magnesium is drinking alcohol. Alcohol is a strong diuretic, and you literally urinate all your magnesium. Also eating sugar. Sugar, for every 1 molecule of sugar, it takes 54 molecules of magnesium to process that. So these high sugar diets that we all tend to eat are really, really impacting our magnesium levels. And then other things like caffeine, also exercising, high intensity exercise makes you sweat a lot. That's why we need electrolytes, right? That's why we all grab those sports drinks to refill our electrolytes. Well, those sports drinks have an incredible amount of potassium and sodium in it, but they're lacking magnesium. So you're literally sweating out your magnesium as well. So those are all kind of that other side of the coin. We got to get it in, but we also have to be cognizant of how much we're burning as well.
Okay. Wow. That's a
That's
that's a
sorry.
lot. That's a lot of information but it makes sense. So then how would we know that we're low or deficient?
Sure. So some of the symptoms of low magnesium include headaches, chronic migraines, muscle cramps, restless legs, anxiety, depression, hormonal imbalance, insomnia. And if you think about all the people you know, I'm sure some of those people are going to deal with those symptoms. They're incredibly common symptoms. There's this incredible author, her name is Dr. Carolyn Dean, and she wrote this wonderful book called The Magnesium Miracle. Definitely recommend reading it. It's a wonderful read. But in that book, she said that as much as 85% of doctors' visits can be tied to low magnesium.
But the
So
doctors aren't necessarily
they're
saying
not,
that. So,
no, they're not.
okay.
They're not. So in America, less than 20% of doctors have had formal training in nutrition. So doctors are not taught the signs to look for. They're not taught nutrition. They're taught many other things. So I'm not downplaying doctors in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
But unless you're working with like a nutritionist or a functional medicine doctor, you're probably not going to discuss diet very much. I mean, if you think back to your last doctor's appointments, are they asking, hey, are you eating enough veggies? Probably not,
So I can kind of the good news about that would be that maybe then you can work some things out on your own before you go to the doctor's visit, potentially. I mean, depending on what the issue is. But if you have frequent headaches and so on, there's some things that you can do to boost your magnesium intake and then go, or maybe that will solve your problem. You wouldn't have to go. Do you think that could be a potential step one?
Absolutely. When it comes to diet and nutrition, I always recommend, start with the basics. Start with what you know. Eat your veggies.
Yeah.
That's tip number one. And the whole reason that I go around talking to people about magnesium is not so that I can tell you, hey, you've got to do this. It's so that you can go to your doctor, to your nutritionist, to your functional medicine doctor, and be prepared with questions. Hey, doc, talk to me about magnesium, or talk to your nutritionist. Hey, how do I get more magnesium into my body? I think I have low symptoms of that. So my goal is to really empower people to know which questions to ask and know what to look for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I remember I heard you on a podcast talk about the calcium and magnesium. How do those two play together or not?
Yes. No, exactly. So they're best friends. Calcium and magnesium are best friends. We need both of those. The calcium's role in our body is to tighten our muscles, and then magnesium's role is to loosen them. So when you think about your heart beating, you've got calcium doing its dance and magnesium doing its part of the dance. You need both, right? The problem lies in the fact that our society tends to be very over-calcified. So if we look at, our bread, our orange juice, everything on the market seems to say, now added calcium. So we're getting calcium from all these sources, but we don't have enough magnesium to balance that out. It's almost like calcium's in the car and magnesium drives it. So if you've got too much calcium, it doesn't know where to go. It doesn't have that magnesium to tell it where to go. And what happens is you wind up with calcifications throughout the body. So if we look at conditions like arthritis, that's calcifications in our joints. If we look at, calcifications in the heart, that can cause heart attacks, that kind of thing, because we don't have enough magnesium to tell calcium where to go. So it's important to make sure that ratio of calcium and magnesium is always in balance. If you notice you're getting like lots of leg cramps, a lot of people get those awful leg cramps that happen right in the middle of the night. A lot of times it's because you've got so much calcium to tighten those muscles, but you don't have enough magnesium to cause them to release.
I feel like magnesium is the introvert and calcium is the extrovert. That kind of overtakes sometimes.
It's a bully. Calcium's a bit of a bully.
It can be a little bit of a bully. And then if you don't know that, like what you were saying with the magnesium burn rate, and if anybody missed that alcohol or caffeine, I guess, so even from tea, right? Black teas, that could even cause that magnesium to be used up too quickly, and then you need to increase your magnesium for it to work correctly.
Yeah, any source of caffeine tends to be a diuretic, and any kind of diuretic will force magnesium right through your urinary tract system, and you'll pee it out essentially.
Yeah. And then what about you mentioned sugar too? So how does that play a role with magnesium?
So sugar, when it enters the body, it needs to be processed just like any other molecule out there. And you need a certain amount of magnesium to process that sugar. It's interesting because magnesium also plays a role in insulin and with blood sugar and diabetes. So it kind of all ties together. There's been some really incredible studies showing that people who are low in magnesium tend to have insulin resistance. And magnesium really works well to lower the insulin resistance and help with diabetes as well.
This is so good because I feel like if you could know this ahead of time and just work through some of, your own health issues to know that you can fix it, potentially on your own. So that would be the next question. What's step one? Now, if you sense, well, I could be low, then what would be the next step? How do you get that magnesium in you? What's the best or first way?
Sure. So there's 3 different ways to get magnesium into your body. The first one is through diet, which we touched on earlier. And I always say that that's the best source of magnesium. Your number one way to get magnesium into your body is through a healthy, well-balanced, whole foods kind of diet. So that's always number one. Number 2 is to take oral supplements. So thankfully, magnesium is a relatively inexpensive mineral. And if you go to the health food store, if you go to your pharmacy, you're going to see magnesium on the market. The problem lies is that there's a lot of different types of magnesium on the market. And this is where people tend to get really confused and overwhelmed, and they'll try one type and it didn't work for them, and then they'll just give up. So
and you're not talking just brands. Are you talking the different types, not just
yeah.
the brands? Okay. And I remember you telling me that before.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, that's really, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I'm not talking brands. I'm talking actual different types of magnesium, because magnesium needs to be bound or chelated to another mineral in order for your body to recognize it and process it when it comes to oral supplements. So that's where we see all these different types. So people tend to try something, it didn't work for me, magnesium doesn't work. Well, we all have different, unique, and incredible bodies. And what's going to work for a 55-year-old man is not going to work for a 21-year-old woman. It's just, we're all different. So it's important to try different forms of magnesium and find the one that resonates the most with your body. And I can do just a quick, general recap of the different types of magnesium if you think.
Yeah, would you? And Carrie, do you know how to? Because I have a feeling that they're going to be a difficult spelling, unless Carrie knows. And Carrie, you could put the names in the chat.
Wow!
I know I just gave you a big job there, Carrie.
She just put you on the spot, Carrie.
I did.
Yeah, really?
You can spell it out.
I can try.
Just because I'm the functional medicine certified
She's
health
coach
doesn't mean I can spell it. So funny.
She's going to make me run laps later. I know it. Okay, so how many are there, first of all, Natalie?
So there are 5 or 6 different ones. So the first one is magnesium threonate. So that one tends to be really good for your nerves, for your memory, for brain fog and brain health in general. There are some studies that show that it passes through the blood-brain barrier. But there are also some other studies that show that all magnesium passes through. So we need more research to really, really see what's going on there. But that one's really, really good for brain health. The next one is magnesium citrate. And this is the most popular one. You're going to see this on the market at most pharmacies, CVS, that kind of thing. Magnesium citrate tends to be really good for anxiety, but it also can have a laxative effect. So if you have IBS or gut issues or anything like that, you might want to stay away from it because it can really irritate your digestive system.
And that's the one in the Calm brand.
Exactly. Okay. That's the Calm brand. It's usually a powder. You mix it with water, that kind of thing. So if you've ever tried magnesium and it gave you diarrhea or loose stools, you were probably using the citrate version, and you might want to try a different version that'll be gentler on your stomach. So the next one's glycinate, and glycinate is really good for sleep. So if you deal with insomnia, a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, glycinate is a wonderful one. It's very gentle and it's very, very well absorbed. Malate is one of my personal favorites. Magnesium malate is incredible for fatigue. So if you're like me and you have a cup of coffee in the morning, and then by like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, that cup of coffee starts wearing off, malate is a great boost of energy for you. It doesn't give you the jitters or a crash or anything like that. It's also really good for muscle issues. So if you deal with fibromyalgia or arthritis or even headaches and migraines, malate is going to be wonderful for you. It'll be your new best friend. And then there's two forms of magnesium that I do not recommend supplementing with, and that's magnesium carbonate and it's magnesium oxide. So carbonate does have an antacid effect, which, if you have heartburn, it might be a good option for you. But in terms of raising your magnesium levels, it does not do a good job. And then the other one is oxide. Oxide is a strong laxative. And studies are showing that only about 4% of oxide is actually absorbed into your system. So I do not recommend oxide for that reason in particular. Unless you have constipation and you need a laxative, then oxide will be a good option for you. If you find like a cheap pill, the least expensive ones that you'll see at the pharmacy, most likely they're going to have oxide in it because it's very, very, very inexpensive.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. And all of those can be bought as a supplement or
they're all over the counter.
Okay.
Supplements at any of your pharmacies, that kind of thing. Health food stores tend to have a really good selection. Even Amazon, you can get a lot of different, magnesium supplements. So those are all your oral supplements. And then the third way to get magnesium, and one of my favorite ways, is to do it through your skin. Mm-hmm. So people think, through your skin, what is your skin going to do? Well, your skin absorbs everything you put onto it. I always try and remind people that nicotine patches, those tiny little squares that people stick on them, that literally gives your body a dose of nicotine. Could you imagine? That's a tiny little area. What happens when you cover your whole area of skin? It really does absorb everything. So there's two different types of topical magnesium. The first is Epsom salts. Epsom salts are magnesium sulfate. They're wonderful. I love Epsom salts. So they're relatively cheap. You can find it just about everywhere. Even my grocery store carries Epsom salt. I always recommend people take Epsom salt baths about 2 to 3 times a week. I always tell people my magical recipe is 2 cups of Epsom salt and 1 cup of baking soda, and throw it in your tub, soak for 20 minutes.
And what's the baking soda do?
The bicarbonate in the baking soda is a cofactor for the magnesium sulfate, and it literally ushers the magnesium into your cells faster. Okay. So it really kind of works together with that magnesium to give you a great dose. It's also a natural detoxifier. Baking soda is amazing. So we use it for just about everything in our house. So, but yeah, soak together. If you don't have time to soak in the tub, because if you're a busy mom, like so many of us are, it's sometimes hard to soak 2 to 3 times a week. So another good option is to soak your feet in that same mixture, mixed with warm water. And you can do that underneath your desk while you're at the office, or you can do it while you're watching TV or reading in the evenings. So that's a quick, fast way to kind of get it into your system. And then the last way is magnesium chloride. And magnesium chloride is what changed my life and made me a total magnesium junkie. It's typically found in sprays or oils or creams, and you use it on your skin. There was a 2017, I believe it was, study that showed that people who used magnesium chloride on their skin absorbed magnesium faster and raised their levels within about 12 weeks, as compared to people who took an oral supplement, which took anywhere from 6 to 24 months. So we're definitely seeing that it works faster. Yeah. You don't have digestive upset, so it's and it's safe, and it's so gentle in your system.
And I think I remember you saying in the past too, that to go to your doctor and ask for lab work, that's the only downside, is it's not really easy to measure your magnesium levels.
Yes. Okay. So if you were to go to your doctor's office and ask them, hey, can you test my magnesium levels? Which is what I did. I went when I was there was a time in my life where I was dealing with insomnia and anxiety and panic attacks and all sorts of stuff. And I went to my doctor. He tested my magnesium levels. They were perfectly fine. The reason why is that most doctors are going to do what's called a serum test, where they take your blood, do a simple blood test to find out what's going on underneath. Well, only 1% of your body's magnesium is stored in your blood. The rest is stored in your bones and your muscles. So if we're only looking at what 1% is happening, we're not seeing a whole picture of what's really going in the body. So the tests that I recommend, that I find that are way more effective at diagnosing magnesium deficiency, are the HTMA test And that's like a hair test. It's hair tissue mineral analysis, I believe is what it is. That one's wonderful. It's actually relatively inexpensive. And you can do it independently. You actually don't need your doctor for that. And it'll not only test your magnesium, but it'll test your magnesium calcium ratio. It'll also test heavy metals, aluminum, mercury, all sorts of good stuff. So it's a really great panel to run. It's just trimming a little bit of your hair and sending it in. And then the other test is the RBC test. And doctors can order the RBC test, but it literally looks at your red blood cells. And that one will give you a better idea of what's happening underneath the surface.
And you'd still recommend the hair over the
the hair is really
easier.
Cheap. Yeah. And you get more of a picture of what's going on in your body. Whereas the RBC is just going to measure the magnesium, and most insurance companies won't cover it. So,
And Natalie,
go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead,
I was gonna ask, and which company do you use for the hair test?
That's a great question. I want to say it was called Better something. I want to say it was like $85 or $100, and it did everything. I can definitely look it up and send it over to either you or Renee, or even put it in the comments on the Facebook.
Okay, well, that'd be great. Yeah. So I know, one form of getting more magnesium that's very common is to just do the magnesium spray, on your feet. And what I didn't like about that was just the itchiness of that. So why do you get that itchiness, and why is that not maybe that? I mean, I assume it's going to still get your magnesium into you, but is there a better option, and why wouldn't that be? What's the itchiness about?
Sure. So the spray is magnesium chloride. Definitely, it's actually what I started with. So the first time I ever used magnesium was magnesium chloride. I was sleeping 2 hours a night, miserable, had total insomnia. I was a walking zombie. And I started using the magnesium spray and went from sleeping 2 hours to 6 hours. So I was a much kinder, nicer, gentler person when I slept more. So it was wonderful. To me, it was a miracle. It was awesome, but it itches and it burns and it irritates your skin. I had made the mistake of using it on my children once, and they screamed like banshees because it itched so much. So it's a concentrated form of magnesium chloride. Chloride's a salt, and salt is itchy. So especially concentrated salt, it will itch your skin. It will dry your skin. It can really irritate it. So that's why we always tell people, use it on your feet, because our skin is a little bit thicker and it can take it a little bit more. Don't use it like on the inside of your arms or your shoulders or back, because it can really irritate you. So the beautiful thing about magnesium chloride is that you can easily put it in with oils, coconut oil, jojoba oil, any kind of lotion, oils, and that kind of thing, and make it a lot more comfortable on your skin. So that's actually what I eventually did, was created a line of magnesium infused creams, because I needed something that wouldn't itch my skin and something that would feel good on my skin, but give me that same benefit that chloride gives you.
Yeah. And that's why I brought you in, because I wanted to, at first Karen and I discussed like, wouldn't it be great? We could just add magnesium to our products and then make something. But I just noticed even in a lotion bar, it can be still sticky. It's not very comfortable. And so I thought, nope, I don't want to make this. I'm going to go point people to the expert and with a cream that is so soft. And so I went through this. I mean, this is since June, and I think I bought this around in June, and you have 3 different kinds. This one is the Tranquility one. I like that you have based on whichever magnesium is in it. One, it might be a little bit more of the energy booster, and one is going to help you go to sleep, and one's going to be, kind of calming you down. So this, and then you also had later, after I was out of this, I bought the pump, which is even easier. And so I really appreciated that. That pump is super easy. My husband actually puts that on my feet the night before I go to sleep.
You have a nice husband.
I know. He's
doesn't she though?
I know. So I really appreciated that. So you have 3 different types of, what is the difference between the 3 that you have in your store? And by the way, that's berooted.com.
Yeah. Be Rooted In. Yep. Be Rooted In. Yeah. So we created 3 formulas to really tackle the 3 biggest issues that I see people have. The Tranquility, which is the one that you have, is our best seller, and it's for stress, because who isn't stressed nowadays, And magnesium, one of the cool things that magnesium can do is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's that part of our brain and our body that tells your body to chill out, to calm down and start relaxing. And magnesium literally turns that switch on for your body, which is really, really awesome, which is why we have it in the Tranquility formula, which also has other herbs that support stress relief, ashwagandha, rhodiola, tulsi, all those good things that really help you stay nice and calm and cool and collected. I also tend to use that one on my 10-year-old who tends to be very, very, very hyperactive, and it really helps him calm down. The teachers really appreciate it when I put it on him before he goes to school. So that one's a really great one. Our other formula is our rest formula. Rest is made with passion flower and chamomile and lavender. And that one was specifically created to help you fall asleep at night and to help you stay asleep. And then our last formula is the relief formula. And that one is made with arnica and comfrey and ginger, all to help get rid of those muscle cramps and pain and inflammation in the joints and in the tissues. So it's really, really good for post-workout soreness. It's really, really good for, if you wake up with those cramps in your legs, or if you're dealing with knee pain or joint pain, it's awesome for that.
Yeah. And I've tried all three from you too. And in fact, I wanted to let our customers know that I bought a bunch of the sample sizes from Natalie. So those, if you are going to be ordering any of our products from us and you want to try one of her magnesium, and she has, thank you, Natalie, for sending these off too to us so that there's a whole explanation of how it works, which I love. Let me know when you place an order. I have a limited number, but if you place an order for Made On products from me, let's just say $25 or more, because I know people might take advantage of our samples and get extra samples of other things, but $25 or more, and I'll throw that in. But do let me know in the comments, because I don't have it listed in the store anywhere. But if there are questions, if people have questions, this is a great time to jump in and ask about magnesium. And I just love that this is so, again, I'm going to go back and say it again, but the fact that we can kind of, by diagnosing a little bit of like, okay, why do I have headaches or migraines? Why am I having a hard time sleeping? Can I get that fixed? All of these things that might help, or the restless legs, all those things that could be just because we are so low on magnesium, and we can easily just take control of that ourselves and try to work that through. I know you said a lot of the red. Oh, you have a question, Carrie?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So Natalie, if someone is currently taking magnesium and they would like to try to switch over to a topical product, how do they navigate that? Like, say they're taking 1,000 milligrams of magnesium, how would they figure out how much magnesium they're getting from the cream?
Yeah, so the cool thing about magnesium going from oral to topical is you can do both. I actually take 3 forms of magnesium a day to meet my daily requirements. The cool thing about magnesium is it's very, very difficult to overdose. If you take too much orally, your body will literally get it out the other end. So
You'll know.
Your body will tell you if you had too much. But that's our fail-safe mechanism. So our fail-safe mechanism kicks in and says, hey, you've had too much, and it'll come out the other end. The beautiful thing about topicals, you really can't overdose. There aren't any clinical studies or any cases of people overdosing on topical. If you think about it, the ocean, so the beach is chock full of magnesium chloride. That saltiness that we get in the ocean is from magnesium chloride. If you think about people who live by the beach, or if you've been in the beach and in the ocean, they're really chilled out people. And part of the reason is because the amazing magnesium you get from the ocean and the vitamin D from the sun, that also helps. But it really does chill you out quite a bit. So, but we don't tell people, hey, don't go in the ocean, you're going to overdose off magnesium, because our skin will absorb what our body actually needs. So I'm a big fan I actually take magnesium malate in the morning, I take glycinate before bed, and then I use the topical cream twice a day, especially to help with anxiety and panic.
That's great. I think we Josie said she started using Jigsaw Mag Pure glycinate and Mag Pure malate. Have you heard of those, Natalie? I think that might be the brand.
Yeah, I've heard of Jigsaw. Great brand. I've heard really great things about it. I haven't tried Jigsaw yet for glycinate, and for malate, I usually use the Cal brand, which is like a flavored powder. I get it on Amazon. It's relatively inexpensive, and I think I have like blueberry flavor, so it's like a nice treat for me. So, but I've heard good things about Jigsaw too.
Do you have your kids take that too?
Yeah. I have my kids, they always do topical, but if, like, for instance, with Halloween coming up and I know they're going to binge on sugar, I usually will give them some of the powder in their drinks just to counteract all that sugar that they're going to have. Or if they're outside in the sun sweating like crazy, I'll give them a little bit more, or I'll give them some of the oral magnesium to support them. But usually they get by just on topical for a regular day.
That's great. All right. Carrie, did you have any other questions? I was going to pop in one other thing I thought of, but go ahead.
Nope, that was it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Natalie, we chatted before that. Do you have a PDF download?
Yeah. So
okay.
I have, because I know everything that I said can kind of be really,
it's a lot.
It can be a lot, like throwing a lot at you. And it can be really sciencey and technical, that kind of thing. So I do have a guide that goes over all the different types of magnesium, how much you should be working towards getting a day, and all the different conditions that are associated with magnesium deficiency. So that way you're kind of preloaded with information that you can go to your doctor and say, hey, can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about that? And really learn more about magnesium. So it's at berootedin.com/magnesium. And it's 25 pages. It's got all sorts of information on there. It's a free download, and it really is super informative.
Okay, berootedin.com / oops. Carrie, you getting it?
/magnesium.
I wanted to put that in the chat. Okay, that should be easy enough. And also, I know you have a good blog with information too. I would highly recommend those of you listening to get on her email list too, because they're so informative. I mean, you hit the right topics. Did I do that right? Be rooted in. I should have double checked.
Yeah, that looks perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Spelled magnesium correctly. That's good. And Facebook, we'll add those in Facebook after the call. So thank you so much. And I hope, those of you who now know that you need magnesium, and if you want to try a really good cream, again, I love the feel of this on my feet, my shoulders, just wherever, it feels really good. It's the smell, the essential oils that you use in there are great. So I really love the scent of it. And my husband says, oh yeah, I'm sure that this is helping you sleep. I'm a very quick to fall asleep person. I have, I may wake up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock and then fall back asleep again. But he's like, yeah, when you use that at night, it helps a lot. So I know, and also that feeling of just kind of that de-stress. And I love what you said about I'm just going to say the surfers, the chill surfers.
Yep.
I know they're the swimmers and so on, but we're in California, so I know exactly what you're talking about. We've seen all the movies from the 80s, we know.
Yes, we have.
So I love that. And that's going to actually make me appreciate the ocean that much more. So everyone should get in the ocean. Yes.
No, mine's a little colder than yours is.
Right. That's true. Well, if you ever come out to California, you've got some warm oceans over here. Anyway, we'll have this as a replay, and otherwise, if you came in late or if you had questions, I will also tag you, Natalie, on the Facebook. So in case anyone has any other questions, you can answer for them. We're getting lots of people now joining. I'm sorry, everyone, we're about to stop. But thank you for coming. And Natalie, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And again, I picked up a bunch of samples from Natalie. So if anyone wants to try this, just next time you place an order with us at Maidon, and it's like $25 or more, just ask me, put a note in the comments, say, hey, can I get one of those samples? And I will add that in for you. So this one is the Rest, by the way. Rest is the one that will help you sleep. And I love this one too. So feel free to do that, and go check out the free download that she has so you can make more sense of the science. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. And we'll have to have you come back, and I'm sure we'll have more questions in the future too. So that would be great. Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Great to meet you, Natalie.
Good meeting you.